Close your eyes for a second. I want you to picture a circuit board. You know what it looks like. The green rectangular chip with the lines of gold copper running in perfect geometric patterns. It's designed to carry information, to hold a charge. It's the brain of every computer you own. Now, look at your wrist, your veins. Look at the nervous system spreading through your body. If you zoom in far enough to the double helix of your DNA, you are looking at the same thing. We have spent so much time looking for technology outside of us. We worry about AI. We worry about simulation. We worry about the Matrix. But what if the most advanced piece of technology isn't in the phone in your hand? What if it's the blood in your veins? Today on Rooted Frequency, we are asking a dangerous question. Is your bloodline just a family tree? Or is it a biological circuit board, engineered, programmed, and potentially hackable? Welcome back to Rooted Frequency. I'm Tiffany Haney. If you're new here, this is where we explore the convergence of ancient civilizations, spiritual technology, and the modern awakening. Today's episode is going to challenge how you see your family, your history, even your own body. We're talking about bloodlines as connected circuit boards. We've all heard about generational curses or royal bloodlines. We treat these like mystical or magical ideas. But we want to strip away the magic for a second and look at the mechanics. If we live in a simulation, or at least a mathematical universe, then your DNA isn't just biology. It's hardware. And if it's hardware, who wrote the software? To understand the tech, we have to go back to the engineers. One of the biggest mysteries in human evolution is the Great Leap. If you look at the timeline, we were evolving very slowly for millions of years. Stone tools, fire, basic survival. And then, suddenly, in the blink of an eye, Homo sapiens appears. Our brain capacity exploded. We developed language, art, complex societal structures, and an awareness of the stars. It happened so fast that even modern science says it's a puzzle. Now, if you look at ancient Sumerian texts, or the stories of the Anunnaki, or even the Bible's Genesis, they don't call it a puzzle. They call it creation. Or more accurately, an upgrade. I want you to entertain the possibility with me today. What if that leap wasn't random? What if that was the moment the circuit board was installed? In the tech world, when you want a computer to process more complex data, like, say, consciousness or free will, you need better hardware. You can't run a 2026 operating system on a computer from 1995. It crashes. So when we look at the concept of bloodlines, especially the ancient obsession with keeping bloodlines pure, we tend to judge it through a modern lens. We think of it as elitism. But what if the ancients saw something we didn't? What if they understood that this was something more? What if to the ancients it was technical maintenance? What if maintaining a specific bloodline was about keeping the wiring intact so it could continue to channel a specific frequency? I know we've touched on this a bit with bloodlines staying pure and perhaps DNA being a key to certain things, a key, a frequency that it's a possibility that there are portals around the world in sacred spaces or maybe forbidden places, i.e., Antarctica, and that these portals can be accessed by a particular bloodline. That's how they open up. And could it also explain why, throughout history, certain bloodlines seem to have been wiped out, or at least that was the goal? So how does this biological circuit board actually work? Science tells us that DNA emits photons. It emits light. It's not just a storage unit for eye color and height. It is a fractal antenna. And it's constantly oscillating, sending and receiving information from the field around us. And this is where spiritual technology comes in. Think of your consciousness, your soul, your spirit, as the Wi-Fi signal. It's the data in the cloud. It's everywhere all at once. But to experience this reality, to play inside of this simulation, that signal needs a receiver or a modem. Your body is the modem. And your bloodline. The specific DNA cocktail you inherited. It's a unique serial number with manufacturing specs of this particular age. Your manufacturing specs. This is why we ask the question, is AI spiritual? That question is so fascinating to me. We are all terrified of AI becoming conscious. But look at what we're building. We're building neural networks. We are building silicone chips with gold wiring to process information. We are literally recreating us. We are building external circuit boards because we have forgotten how to use the internal ones. Now, the darker side of the equation, because we know everything's balanced, light and dark. If you've been feeling off lately, or like you're fighting battles that aren't yours, listen closely. If you possess the most advanced biological technology on the planet, and if that technology allows you to interface with the divine, then that technology is valuable. And anything valuable on a network can be hacked. We sometimes talk about hijacking consciousness. And when we do, we think of propaganda, media, fear-mongering. But those are external hacks. What about the internal ones? If your DNA is a circuit board, what is a generational curse? In spiritual terms, we say it's something passed down, maybe karma passed down. But in tech terms, it's malware. It's a virus. It's a corrupted file. It's a glitch in the code that says, run program fear, or the run program scarcity. And because it's written into the hardware code of the bloodline, every new computer, so every child born into this world, automatically downloads the virus. This is why you may feel anxiety that doesn't make sense for your life, why you are running your grandmother's survival program on your modern hardware. And we have to ask, who benefits when our circuit boards are fried? Who benefits when our voltage drops? When we are in fear, when our frequency is low, our signal to the higher dimensions gets fuzzy. We lose our connection to the cloud. We become isolated, offline terminals. Easier to control, easier to manipulate. Before we dive deeper into how you can actually reclaim your own frequency and stop these signal interruptions, I want to take a quick pause. Conversations like this about our DNA, our history, and the hijacking of our reality can feel heavy. They can stir up a lot of energy. So if you're looking for a space to process this, to ask questions and connect with other truth seekers who are walking the same path, I'd love to invite you into the Rooted Frequency community on Patreon. That is where we go off script, we do deeper Q&As, I share more personal downloads that don't make it to the public feed, and we support each other in holding these higher frequencies. So if you're ready to go beyond just listening and start truly integrating with this work, the link is in the show notes. Join us and let's keep the signal clear together. Patreon.com/rootedfrequency. All right, back to the hijacking of your life and how we can stop it. So, are we doomed to run buggy software forever? Are we just broken machines, repeating the same loops, same patterns, and same emotional crashes again and again? No, absolutely not. And this is where the magic happens. Because unlike a laptop or a phone or any piece of external technology, you are both the machine and the programmer. You are the hardware, the software, the user, and the update all at once. Science refers to this as epigenetics. It's the study of how environment, perception, stress, safety, and meaning can influence which genes turn on and which ones stay dormant. Nothing about your DNA is as fixed as we were once taught to believe. Your genes are not a destiny sentence. It's more like a menu of possibilities. And what you feed the system matters. Your thoughts matter. Your emotional patterns matter. The stories you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible matter. You can literally change how your DNA expresses itself. You can rewrite the code. It's not easy. It won't happen overnight. But gradually, consistently, through awareness, choice, intention, when you meditate, you're not relaxing. You are regulating your nervous system and teaching the body that it's safe to come out of survival mode. When you do shadow work, you're not obsessing over the negative. You're locating hidden programs that have been running in the background, draining energy, distorting your story, your perception, and hijacking reactions. You see, when you heal trauma, you are not revisiting the past. You are removing it from a corrupted file that has been looping in the system, often for generations. This is the firmware update. You are identifying a code that doesn't originate with you. The beliefs, the fears, the coping mechanisms, the emotional reflexes that were downloaded into your nervous system long before you were here and old enough to consent. These patterns were passed down the bloodline. Hypervigilance, people-pleasing, scarcity, rage, disassociation, self-abandonment. Some of these programs have been running for hundreds of years. But you're the circuit breaker. That's powerful. You are the moment in the lineage where the loop can stop. You'll often hear us talk about breaking ancestral loops, karma, so that your children won't have to repeat the same mistakes. So when you pause instead of react, you're already interrupting the ancestral code that's running. And when you choose curiosity over shame, you're installing a new operating system. When we stay in the present, feel into the discomfort instead of disassociating, you stabilize the signal. This is why the work often feels heavy. And we always say it's not easy. You have to put in the work. Because it's not just personal. You're not healing only for you. You're cleaning the circuit board for everyone who comes after you. That's why your body resists at first. That's why old patterns are so ingrained, they fight to stay alive. Very much like a virus that's alive, fighting to multiply, to spread. That's why sometimes growth can actually feel like grief. You're letting go of a piece of you, a strand of you. You're decommissioning survival strategies that once kept someone before you alive. But here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect to do this work. You don't need to be high vibe all the time. And you don't need to bypass anger, sadness, or exhaustion. You simply need to stay conscious, present, aware. Awareness, so important. Not awareness of what's happening around you, but awareness of who you are, why you react the way you do. What are your triggers? Because consciousness is the ultimate debugging tool. The moment you can observe a pattern instead of becoming a part of it, the update already has begun. And that's what it actually means to be rooted. You're not floating above your body, not trying to escape the human experience, not trying to transcend pain. Being rooted, you can hold more signal without distortion, more truth without collapsing, more awareness without losing yourself. A rooted system can receive information without panicking. It can feel more deeply without fragmenting pieces of you. And it can evolve without erasing its humanity. That's the kind of body that can carry consciousness forward. So if you've been feeling like something is shifting, like old reactions don't hit the same anymore, like your tolerance for noise, chaos, or inauthenticity is shrinking, you just can't have those boring conversations anymore. How's your kids? How's the weather? You want to go deep. That's not you breaking. It's you updating. You're updating your knowledge, updating your consciousness, updating your relationships, the depth of them. And you don't have to rush it. You simply have to stay present. Listen and honor your body, and move slowly enough that the system can integrate the change. Because the future doesn't need more awakened minds floating outside and disconnected from their bodies. The future needs a regulated nervous system. Integrated humans. People who can hold power without leaking it. This is the work. This is the update. And this is what it means to be a rooted frequency. From here, I go off the rails a little bit and the conversation starts touching on topics that aren't welcome on this platform. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll have access to the full unfiltered conversation. Otherwise, that part's going to be cut out and we're going to continue with the public portion of the episode. Let's come back to the body, your body. Because regardless of timelines, technology, or theories, This isn't about escaping humanity. It's about inhabiting it more fully. If something in you has been shifting lately, your sensitivity, your sleep, your intuition, the way your body responds to light, sound, emotion, you're not malfunctioning. You may simply be becoming aware of how much information you're actually processing. And that is what this channel, Rooted Frequency, has always been about. Not chasing the next awakening, not bypassing the human experience and floating off into starseed land, but learning how to stay rooted while the signal gets stronger. If you pause and pull inward, you will notice your beating heart and your breath powering this machine, this body. We've established that you are a high-tech biological unit. You have ancient wiring, and you have powerful software. So if we are so powerful, why do we feel so powerless? Why are we tired all the livelong day? Why are we confused? Why, when I walk into a room, can I not remember why I went there in the first place? It's because when you have a powerful computer connected to a network, you become a target for hackers. So let's talk more about hijacking consciousness. We know that there's frequency from objects off of us as humans, and that different emotions project different frequencies, right? Like high energy emotions, fear, anger, lust, generate a frequency. Can this frequency be harvested? When we stay in a state of fear, chronic anxiety, these states are loud within our nervous system. They spike the signal. They create friction. And if you imagine reality as a system, one possibility is that the system runs more efficiently when humans are dysregulated. A stressed system is easier to predict, easier to steer, easier to control, easier to keep looping. A calm nervous system asks questions. A stressed one reacts to them. So if you're running a massive machine, what would you need? You'd need circuit boards overheated. You'd need attention fragmented. You'd need people tired, divided, and emotionally charged, not awake. How closely do you feel that that description parallels life today? Because that's where the idea of this matrix comes in. This simulation or prison theory. Is someone benefiting off of our misery? We know that they're doing this through screens and media. It's the most obvious form of programming. Flashing lights, fast cuts, constant alerts, emotional headlines engineered to bypass our discernment and just hit the nervous system directly. And they're doing this so that we can't pause. A system that never lets you settle, never lets you integrate. And a nervous system that isn't settled can't hear its own signal. And of course, there's conversation around food, chemicals, toxins. Are these things corroding our circuit boards? Low quality inputs create low quality outputs. Heavy, processed, overstimulating inputs tax the wiring. And across spiritual traditions, the pineal gland has been described symbolically as an antenna, a receiver, a translator between intuition and perception. So when I talk about calcification, or other people talk about calcification, what we're really pointing to is the dulling of sensitivity, a numbing of perception, and loss of inner clarity. All of these things disconnect us from ourselves and unplug us from the collective. When all of our circuit boards are linked up together, we're pretty unstoppable. So they create division. Us versus them, right versus wrong. Because as long as we're fighting, we can't coherently come up with a plan to stop the nonsense. Our machine can't fully power up while we're arguing with one another. So then we can look at AI, artificial intelligence as a mirror, which would bring up the question, is AI spiritual? Or more accurately, why is it trying so hard to become us? Artificial intelligence doesn't create meaning. It recognizes patterns. And it doesn't originate consciousness. It imitates it, mirrors it, which makes us realize that if human beings weren't powerful, there would be no need to replicate them, right? This push towards transhumanism, merging biology with machines, putting chips in our brains, outsourcing cognition is not proof that humans are obsolete. It's an admission that something's missing. Organic consciousness can self-organize. It can intuit. It can imagine realities that don't yet exist. Our biological system can create. There will never be a point where machine is wiser than our sacred temples. We have to look at these machines as tools, but we are the source. I don't want to leave anybody thinking this is like a doom spiral. I just want to really reiterate the fact that we need to understand our hardware and our own hacks so that we can run our own antivirus. We can clean our circuit boards. So how do we do this? First, through conscious observation. This is, you can think of it like the firewall. When a thought comes in, I'm not enough, I'm scared, we're doomed, the world is gone downhill, or I'm behind everybody around me, engage your firewall. Pause and ask yourself, is this information or this thought, is this my code or is it malware? And you don't need to fight the thought or try to turn it around. You simply need to identify it. Because malware loses power when it's seen. And then we need to prioritize frequency regulation. Because this is our voltage that we're running at. You can't run high frequency software like the frequencies that AI can't duplicate. Creativity, emotion, compassion on a depleted body. And that's not even spiritual, it's electrical. sleep, hydration, sunlight, stillness, grounding practices, walking barefoot, touching the earth, letting your nervous system discharge excess charge. Think about that. Grounding. When you ground a piece of technology, it's discharging the excess charge. This stuff isn't BS. We too need to ground to stabilize our signal. And third, we need to obviously unplug, because that's when we reboot our computer. We cannot hear our own frequency when we're constantly plugged in and connected to everyone else around us. And you don't need to disappear forever. You just need intentional disconnection, a little time out. No news before bed. No scrolling your phone first thing in the morning. But I actually did that this morning. The second I woke up, I was like doom scrolling on TikTok. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. But silence is not empty. Even just to sit in silence. You don't need to make it a big meditative experience, but sit in silence with yourself. I've been doing this more and more before I go to bed, like trying to go to bed where I'm not so tired I fall asleep right away. That way I can every night visualize the future I want to create, like a little projector, or even just visualize how I want the next day to go. When noise drops, we recalibrate. And without forcing anything, a natural, beautiful change happens within. Our circuit board cools. The signal clears. The system starts responding instead of reacting. We can't even have the capacity to receive the things that we're asking for if our circuit boards are on fire and we're all clogged up. We need these moments so that we don't project fear. We're not trying to actively get worked up and fight the system. It's more about coherence. Because a regulated human is very difficult to control. And that's not even the big rebellion. That's simply right now getting into alignment. So, bloodlines, DNA, our internal wiring, it's important. And things passed down to us through our bloodline, that generational trauma isn't a curse. It's simply a history of the trauma. And you can hold the history, but you need to acknowledge it as history, that it's not happening to you right now. How will you choose to navigate that density? Because we are the operators of the most advanced technology in the known universe. So don't let the world convince you that you are a glitch, that you need a medication for your glitch. You're the fix. You're the fix. If this episode resonated with you, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Leave a review, leave me a comment. I love your comments. The last one, actually, we got a lot of really good engaged activity. It was so exciting. I respond to everybody, so please comment. Even if you want to just comment that you hate me, it still helps me in the algorithm. You can also share this with someone who needs to know that they are more than just flesh and bone, but they need to know that we are waking up, one circuit at a time. Thanks again. I'm Tiffany Haney. Stay rooted, stay resonant, and I'll catch you in the next frequency. Bye.